ready, man. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to Two LPs in a Pod. This is episode 4. I am Shawn. I'm here with my co-host, Andre. And this is the show where every episode we pick a theme. We each pick an album that is loosely based on that theme, and we review the albums together. So, Andre, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I just told you it's been an eventful weekend, so I'm a little tired, but this is going to be a good episode. Got some interesting albums to talk about, man. So I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, they're all good episodes. So our theme...
That's true.
Our theme this episode is dance pop albums. And I was really excited about this when you chose this theme because it's one of my favorite genres. So what made you think of this as our episode theme?
So previously we after the second episode we recommended 2 genres, and then we did one person projects first, and then we did dance pop. But at the time we were still, I mean, this is only episode 4, so we're not that far into it. But I think after it was mostly that I had recommended a couple albums that you didn't like that much. I was like, I need like a layup, man. So let's go for like an easy genre that we're both gonna have to not try that hard to find a good album. Plus, I do like the album that I'm recommending. I think at this point, I'm starting to like find a groove of having some albums that I want to talk about or some artists that I want to talk about, and finding a way to like find a topic where I can talk about those things.
Yeah, I want to be careful of that. I get what you're saying, and as I approach this show with you, I'm trying to broaden my horizons, and our previous episode was definitely not broadening my horizon from my pick. It was something that I really loved and wanted to show you. So I wanted
You want to avoid that?
I don't know if I do. Like maybe from episode to episode it's different, but sometimes I feel like this is a good way for us and our listeners and viewers to come out of our comfort zones. You know what I mean? So, and one way to do that is for me to just listen to your album. But I don't want you to think like, I got to find stuff that Shawn's going to like. I'd rather...
That's fair.
I'd rather listen to something and have something interesting to say about it that I don't like and why I don't like it. Then, I love this album. Thanks, Andre. You know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair.
I
appreciate
that. Makes
that.
for a better show. Yeah. So, dance pop was our theme for this episode, and I chose the Snow Strippers April Mixtape 3. And you're going to appreciate the reason why I chose this, Andre.
I think I remember already. Why? Didn't when we were looking at genres to pick, didn't Fantano review the album?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Now, I didn't watch his review. I
haven't watched it.
I can't sit through like a full video of his, but it was one of his wrap-ups. I think he does monthly wrap-ups.
Yeah. And, he does like great albums.
He said this here Snow Strippers mixtape is really good. So I was like, all right, that sounds what a compelling name for this group. So. I looked it up. It is on Spotify. A bunch of their stuff is. So I said, I'll choose that. And I didn't even know about the Crystal Castles comparisons, which we'll talk about. But
yeah.
I just said, okay. Yeah, I said the melon approves of it. Andre loves the melon. I'm going for it. So what was your... Had you heard... I have not heard Snow Strippers at all until I listened to this album, and I haven't gone and listened to any of either one of our artists' other works, with a little exception on the second album. So had you listened to these guys before we approached this album?
So it's just, first off, it's funny that what we were just talking about with like wanting to our logic for picking albums. I totally went for a comfort pick, and you totally went for an artist that you'd never even heard of. So I thought that was funny. Right. I have never. Well, this is actually a very new artist. Apparently, they released 2. This is technically a mixtape, the third one. So they released 2 mixtapes last year and a studio album, and then they've released this mixtape this year. So a bit of a a little meaty discography already in just like less than 2 years. But I had never heard of them before your recommendation.
True, and it seems like they're getting popular off of the remix of "It's a Dream" featuring Lil Uzi Vert. Is that accurate?
I don't actually know the story that much for this band, but I will say a quick spoiler that probably is my favorite track on on the mixtape.
Yeah, I think when you Google snow strippers or you look on YouTube and you start typing snow strippers, it auto suggests snow strippers Lil Uzi Vert. So
is that the most played song from the album too? Let me check.
I would imagine so.
That's really cool that we're kind of getting into it now, but like, dang, like that's so random but so awesome that they got a Lil Uzi feature.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know too much
vibe.
about him. Are you a fan?
I am a fan. How it's like, I don't want to get too far into it yet, but there is that other album that I recommended to you that I thought was very similar, which is kind of like a cloud rap album, and Lil Uzi definitely got his start from the cloud rap genre, which this album is not really cloud rap, but it kind of is similar, so it totally makes sense stylistically that they would do a song together. But he's extremely popular, man.
Got it. Well, his feature, I guess, is helping them in a way.
That's a dope endorsement, man. He's a cool artist. He seems like a cool dude. He's not too much of a troublemaker.
Cool. I'll have to check him out. So I sent you an interview, which I neglected to read. I put an interview in the notes. Now, you read it real quick before the start of the recording, but one of the things that pops up a lot with snow strippers is, they just sound like Crystal Castles. And I want to go on a little bit of a tangent here because I get so annoyed with these what I would see as like reductive comparisons that, okay, it's an electronic group that sometimes uses, it's a man and a woman, a guy and a girl, and they sometimes use stuff that sounds like chiptune stuff, and the vocals are a little bit distorted. But that doesn't mean, they sound like Crystal Castles. But you said that was kind of mentioned in the interview. So what was the insight there?
It's a little, I don't want to throw shade, but like it's just like, like they're Crystal Castles. Look, this is so cool. You know, it's not that deep. It is kind of guilty of what you're saying. I don't think it's like writing it off, but it's just like, check out this new duo that's Crystal Castle-esque. Before we go further too, Crystal Castle is actually a group I have heard a lot about, but I've never listened to.
Oh, okay. And my history with them, I was obsessed with their first album. Unfortunately, there's some
drama, and that's kind of why.
There's drama, history, bad stuff juju with that group, you know. But man, that first album, I was obsessed with it for a long time.
I've heard, that they have a rabid fan base.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate, and you know, like it's a situation where two people made art, and it's unfortunate how the one person treated the other person in the partnership.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But it's like that whole separating the art from the artist thing. Like, I don't know.
This one's a little tougher. We're going on a tangent again, but this one's a little tougher because it's like you can't really defend the artist. It's not like they said something that's kind of like politically taboo. It's more like they don't even like each other anymore. So like, how can you take a side, really?
Right. Yeah, and I'm talking about more like situations of abuse. It's like it's hard to listen to older Kesha stuff when you know like what the situation was going on.
That's an interesting point.
What did Kesha do wrong? You know what I mean? So that's why like that first Crystal Castles album, it's like, what did Alice Glass? You know, she was in a bad situation, but they made some great art together. So it's kind of hard to wrap your head around it in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's there's some unfortunate baggage that comes with listening at this point.
Yep. But so far not with Snow Strippers, so we can get back to them.
Let's get back on track.
Crystal Castles.
Nothing to do with Snow Strippers.
Yeah, but so I thought this album, man, I sometimes think journalists and these people probably hear a ton of music, and there's a reason you do it, right? Because you want the reader to think, oh, I know what Crystal Castle sounds like. So that then you make that equation in your mind when you hear about Snow Strippers. Oh, that's that band that sounds like Crystal Castles, and you may have never heard either one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so annoying. But I thought this mixtape or this album, whatever you want to call it, really has its own flavor. It has a thick layer of like deep, what's the word, padding, I think is the synth, the bass.
Like the bass is really boosted, or it's like very layered? I don't think
it's just really thick on the bottom end, and that pervades the whole album to the point where the first time I listened to this album, I really liked it, and the second time it started like getting on my nerves.
Oh, that can happen.
It was bearing down on me, and I actually started listening to something else.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
But in general, like I love this kind of music. Like I love weird electronic.
You like sleigh bells too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
that's another kind of good comparison. The other band that recently came out with a new album that's really good that I was thinking about because I like their album better is Death's Dynamic Shroud, which they incorporate vaporwave elements and a lot more sampling than Snow Strippers. But you could play that album, at a party where you were playing some Snow Strippers, and it would, it would
that would be an interesting party, man.
Yeah. Don't let me DJ your but as far as like EDM electronic albums that have come out recently that I wouldn't give this like a 10 out of 10. Oh my god, it was so good, but I enjoyed it, even despite the fact that I feel it's overbearing at times. So I do like the ethereal vocals that are kind of faint in the mix and the heavily processed. And I like the beats. I like the synths. I like when there's chiptune-y sounding stuff in it. It's all good. It's just that it's about 45 minutes long, which is a decent, I'm not complaining about the length there.
That's a good album,
about 20 minutes of the pounding, you know what I mean?
It's a bit one note.
Yeah, exactly. But I'd recommend it, and I'd recommend them. I will check out more of their stuff.
Nice, man. Wow, you went on a limb and you were rewarded.
Yeah, I would say so. What about you?
All right, so there's a couple things. I would say first, even though there are definitely dance pop elements to this album, it definitely would not come to mind first when thinking of dance pop. So the first time I listened to it, I definitely...
It's not super poppy at all, right?
Yeah, the first time I listened to it, I was expecting a pretty... I had never heard them, so I was like, oh, dance pop, it should be fun. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a lot more challenging than just dance pop. So I would definitely call it more like, maybe like noise pop or like... I have to check some RYM. But definitely it's more challenging than just like regular dance pop. And then the second thing... so this kind, like, I haven't listened to Crystal Castles, but I do, unfortunately, I don't like sleigh bells that much. And I this kind of sound, I don't think it just isn't exactly for me. It's like has dance pop elements, but it doesn't really have like the catchiness or like the snappiness or the memorability of dance pop.
Yeah.
So then, in that respect, I'm like, okay, I don't really enjoy it, but it's unique at least, right? Like it's an interesting vibe. It has interesting production. But then what takes away from that is, I kind of cheated a little, and I feel a little bad, but I hijacked this episode and recommended 2 albums to you. The second, not that's like the Russian machine, is Ultra Club 4K by Doves. And the reason I recommended that album is because they both are very similar to me stylistically. Like they both have this kind of, I don't know exactly what's being sampled in the Snow Strippers album, but in the Ultra Club 4K album, it's a bunch of like late 90s and early 2000s electronic songs that are being sampled. And it's also not really pop, he's more like rapping. But just like stylistically, they sound so similar. And I just prefer that album a lot more. So it kind of takes away from the unique factor of the Snow Strippers album as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as our listeners know at this point, our themes, as I said in the intro, are very loose, right?
Yeah, this is a couple instances of us going off the beaten path.
Yeah, and I think that's
not bad.
what makes the show kind of cool, is that sometimes we're going to miss the mark and say, all right, this isn't really dance pop because it's not really poppy enough, but it is EDM, it is electronic.
It definitely
music,
has dance
what I mean?
pop elements. I can't deny that.
Yeah. So cool. Well, I have to confess too, I forgot to check out that other.
Oh no! You should.
Apologize.
It's so good. It's so good.
I will. I'm very sorry about that.
No, and I will say then, since you haven't listened, it's only on Bandcamp, so I think maybe, I don't know how this works.
That's
like,
probably
legally.
why I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, that could be it. But like, it definitely samples. I guess I don't want to spoil it, but it samples a lot more iconic songs. Like, I didn't recognize anything from Snow Strippers album, but Ultra Club 4K, like, it samples some pretty iconic aughts and 90s electronic songs. So I guess it couldn't get them cleared for Spotify, which is why it's only on Bandcamp.
Oh, okay. Then I probably would really like it,
Dope,
especially if it hits me with that kind of nostalgia.
The thing is, it's to go back to cloud rap, it's like a kind of overblown style of production that like was started on SoundCloud, which is what Lil Uzi, where he comes from. So it kind of comes full circle. So did you like the Lil Uzi track?
I did, but I don't know. It kind of, I like the mix, like the original version without him more.
Oh, okay.
It just feels like a little out of place as far as the album goes. It's a remix track at the end of the album, and it's a remix of a song you previously heard. So it does feel like just a bonus track. And I'm more curious and excited to hear his own tracks.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious,
but this
I don't know if you're into that kind of sound. Yeah,
I don't know either.
That's good.
I don't have like a good grasp of like SoundCloud rap. I'm more of an old head. But I can see how this is like a natural evolution of, like Crystal Castle's first album came out in 2007, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And
it's been a while.
That SoundCloud rap wasn't a thing, but in a different universe, maybe they would have, I don't know, somebody on that featuring, because mixtapes and features are such a thing now, and they kind of weren't back then. So this is kind of the natural evolution of the culture.
I'm sure Snow Strippers has been influenced by SoundCloud rap. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. You're good. Yep. Same page. Cool. Well, sounds like Snow Strippers gets kind of like a sideways thumbs up from both of us. Like,
I thought you liked it.
Yeah, like I'm saying, definitely.
I think you like it
check
more than
them out.
me.
I do like it. It just didn't feel like a slam dunk in the way the new Death's Dynamic Shroud album does, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't. This album was good. I liked listening to it, but it didn't light me up in the way that some albums do. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I think I would unfortunately give it a less of an endorsement, because I would just recommend the Ultra Club 4K album instead.
Got it.
Although they are not the same thing. Like if see, the thing is, I can't recommend albums from these genres because I don't like it that much. And speaking of, I don't like Death's Dynamic Shroud that much either, unfortunately.
They're an acquired taste for sure.
They have a lot of albums.
Very accessible. Yeah.
I don't even know if we're talking about the same one because they have so many. Like, I've listened to a couple of their albums, but they drop like a few a year.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I'm talking about whatever's available on Spotify, the one that came out in 2023. That's what I'm calling their new album. But if they're that prolific where they have multiple
What does the album
drops a
cover
year,
look like?
then- Let me just pull it up real quick so I can just say the right thing. 'Cause I'm sure the listeners are pulling their hair out as well.
Okay, so it's After Angel.
The one I liked was After Angel. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
I
I
don't
thought
like that
that was
album that
really
much,
good.
unfortunately.
Hey,
It's-
fair enough. Like I said,
Different
the first
strokes
time
for
I heard
different
that
folks,
group,
man.
I was like, "This is god awful," but it really grew on me.
Oh, well, I never had that reaction, so I guess it evens out.
That's funny. All right, well, let's go. Let's move on into your pick, Andre. So you said that you thought this was an easy choice for you. I had never even heard of this artist, but she's one of these artists who has like kind of a history and has gone through different phases of her career. So I thought that was a very interesting.
You've done some research. Yes, that's
choice.
correct.
Yeah, so take it away.
All right. So as I said, I recommended the dance pop genre to give myself an easy layup. And now that you've kind of brought it up in this light, I think we also still have to pick topics. So maybe the next episode, I'll give myself more of a challenge. But this is definitely a comfort pick. Róisín Machine. Is that how you say her name? I already forget.
Yeah.
Róisín Machine.
Róisín Machine. It kind of rhymes.
Róisín Machine. I guess that makes sense. Okay, Róisín Machine, Róisín Murphy.
Wait, slow down. So this is funny because before we recorded, we said we got to get this right, and I was saying Róisín Machine, but you looked it up and it's actually Róisín Machine.
Let me double check real quick.
Okay, good. God bless her. We don't want to get her name wrong.
Róisín.
Perfect.
Róisín. I'm going to type it down real quick. Okay. Róisín Machine by Róisín Murphy, released in 2020. It is definitely more of a dance pop album, but it has a lot of disco elements and kind of like new disco, which is a genre I really, really like because bit of a tangent, but like when I was still in high school, Daft Punk released Random Access Memories, which is a new disco album, and I just love that album. And this is a genre that is a little bit underserviced. It's hard to find some bangers in the new disco realm, so I do like this album a lot. It's a bit more challenging than just disco though. Like for starters, Snow Strippers, that album has like 16 tracks. And this album has 10 tracks only, but it's almost like 10 minutes longer. So the songs, some of the songs are a bit psychedelic. Like it's almost like house, like it's very repetitive. She kind of like takes a song and like draws it out from like end to end. Sometimes not to like the best results, but oftentimes I think it's wonderful. And then she has a lot more like not basic, but like straightforward, enjoyable songs. Like I love Murphy's Law. That's probably my favorite track. It's just kind of like it's a dance pop banger for real. So yeah, I love this album. What do you think of it?
I'm glad you love it. I liked it a lot, and I think
there we go.
Definitely, yeah. No, I enjoyed it probably more than the Snow Strippers. I think it's more structured,
my
and even
layup
though the songs
intention has been serviced. Sorry, go ahead.
Very good. I think it harkens back to if you listen to those old disco albums, like in my exploration of listening to new albums every single day, which I'm still doing.
Nice.
I'm up into the 250 some odd albums that I've listened to. I've listened to a few disco albums, and a lot of them are like even fewer tracks, like 6 or 7 songs, and they're all really long. And the reason for that is because, they were in the 70s doing coke and dancing all night, so they had these long songs. Yeah. So I think that it does kind of throw back to that. And, the songs kind of breathe and evolve and grow, and they even though parts of them are repetitive, they have more of a structure. I love her voice. She's a great singer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this was a good one, and it is it is pushing an hour long, and I didn't listen to the deluxe version or the remixes or
I've
anything.
never listened
I've only
to that.
listened to the actual album.
Nice, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, this is again, it's a comfort pick for me. It's one of those albums that like, if I were to do, I didn't do Disc Junkie in 2020. Like, if I was to do a 2020 albums list, it would probably not be like at the tippy top, but it is a very, very good album. So it's kind of like one of those albums that like, you know, because it's not like my favorite all time, I want to like take extra care to make sure I don't forget it.
I love that. Sense. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So this came out in 2020, but she has been around for a little while, right? And I lied earlier when I said I didn't listen to any of her older stuff. I went on Spotify and her oldest album on there was from 2005. So I listened to the first 2 tracks on that album just to see what it was all about. And it was interesting. It was kind of Bjork-like. It had like this almost experimental element to the beats. It wasn't dirty, messy like Snow Strippers experimental, but it was more like minimalist. Again, I'm being reductive in the way that I don't like that musical journalists are, but it just reminded me of Bjork. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, you're talking about Ruby Blue?
Again, let me just look so I get it right. It's I'm so basic, I only use Spotify. That's a big reason why I didn't check out that thing that you sent me, because it was on Bandcamp. But let me pull it up real quick. Albums. Yeah, so I listened to the first tracks on Ruby Blue, and I found it interesting because that came out in 2005, or at least Spotify has it listed as 2005.
That's probably correct.
The years aren't always right. Yeah, so same singing voice, but way different production and beats. But
you go ahead.
Tell me more. Tell me more about her history, her trajectory as an artist. Very interesting. Some of these female pop stars like Robin, made me think of that. Like some of these female pop stars from the 90s have these like ebbs and flows to their careers, and it's really cool to see them kind of strike back with great albums like this.
Mm-hmm. So I don't have the full context, unfortunately. I have listened to Ruby Blue, and I do like that album. It is apparently music concrete, like concrete music. Do you know what that is?
No. Tell me.
Apparently all of the sounds on that album were made using like physical objects. So, hey guys, editor Andre here. Just wanted to clarify that Ruby Blue is not fully music concrete. There are electronic beats and sounds in there, but it does often sample sounds made with everyday objects. So it's still a great album. I still definitely recommend it. Go give it a listen, but just wanted to add in that correction.
No way. That's
yeah,
cool.
Apparently,
okay.
Yeah. So
now I want to listen to it again.
That's a good album. You should definitely listen to it. It's definitely very different, but what I was getting at is that she is definitely like an adventurous artist, I would say. But then I listened to the next album, Overpowered, by her, and I didn't like it as much, unfortunately. So I took a bit of a break. It looks like she has an 8-year gap in her discography before she releases like yet another album. So I don't know what that's about. Maybe I should finish up her arsenal and listen to all of her albums. But just based on Ruby Blue, she definitely has a more of an outsider approach to the genre. So that makes it like refreshing and you know, because she's being a bit more experimental, maybe it's not for everyone. Róisín Machine, like, I love the album, but it is definitely a bit challenging for like a regular dance pop album. But yeah, man, she's a great artist. And I just wanted to add too, in 2020, the year Róisín Machine dropped, that's also the year that What's Your Pleasure by Jessie Ware dropped. So it was a bit of a new disco. It was just 2 albums, but like there were 2 pretty popular albums. So it was kind of a dance pop new disco craze that year. Celebration, I suppose.
I remember that Jessie Ware album. I don't know how much I listened to it. I have to go back and revisit.
Oh, really? I thought you would have been a sucker for that.
Yeah, I like her, but I can't put my finger on like even the last time I listened to her music. You know,
Fair enough.
it's been a while.
She has a new album this year, so you can get back into it real quick.
Nice. Very cool. Well, I can't think of much else to say about either of these albums. I mean, I feel like, again, there's nothing that particularly jumped out. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss because these are two albums that, from their start to finish in their length, is just music. Like, I listen to music while I'm working, and every once in a while something will tug on my brain strings and say, hey, this is really good. Like, when I'm listening to something, I'll go back and repeat a track if I think a song really speaks to me. Mm-hmm. But with both these albums, I just played through them a couple times each and enjoyed it. And I agree with you that Róisín Machine is the better of these two albums.
It's not a competition, but thank you.
No. Yeah. But again, I'd recommend them both. But again, nothing really lit me up or changed my life about either one of these albums, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that happens, man. I'm glad you like them.
And that's most of the music you listen to on a day-to-day basis, right? And that's kind of what my search is in listening to all this new music, is I'm trying to find songs that I can playlist and like love forever, or that will give me a new perspective on my own songwriting or lyricism or instrumentation or production or whatever. And though both of these albums were good, I didn't have that, none of that happened while listening to either one of them.
I know, like, we talk about RYM a lot, but do you actually like use a site to rate albums you listen to?
No, I just I post them on Twitter every day. So I have like 8 different Twitter threads, which is a terrible way to do it because it's really hard to find stuff that I've already listened to.
Yeah, that's
right.
What
like
I'm
if I want to
at.
go back to an artist that I liked, and I'm like, oh, which album did I listen to? And then I have to find a Twitter thread because I don't let them get too long, because then it's hard to do it. So I don't know. I might have to take a couple hours and put them in a spreadsheet or put them on RYM or something.
So I do love RYM, and I still use it basically every day. But the platform that I probably enjoy like rating and cataloging stuff a bit more is Album of the Year. It just looks a little bit cleaner. It's also nice to have 2 different platforms because definitely the 2 audiences have slightly different tastes. And also on RYM, you can only rate things. You can rate it out of 5 stars, but you can go like half a star. So you can basically only rate it out of 10. Whereas Album of the Year, you can rate stuff from 0 to 100. So it gives you a little bit more control. And yeah, I mean, like, once you're at the level of where we're at, where we listen to so much music, I definitely think for your own benefit, it's important to have some kind of like system so you can catalog what you've listened to. And I mean, maybe give it a score. Like, I think that part is fun too, but I guess you don't have to. But like, eventually you're just going to start forgetting the things that you like. Like, you don't want that to happen, right? So
yeah, exactly. And that is the hazard of listening to so much new music, because I have gone back on these Twitter threads from like a month or 2 ago and having no memory of things that I'm seeing on my list. Like, oh,
that's just going to happen.
I don't even remember what that sounds like. But that's the challenge. Like, I'll remember Róisín Machine and I'll remember Snow Strippers because we talked about them for an hour. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's like, oh, that just went in one ear and out the other, as the saying goes. But yes, I'll figure out a better way to catalog it, and I'll do it on something that you can see, so you can
follow me. Yeah, let's follow each other.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool. All right, sounds like we're close to wrapping up here. I wonder if you would let me plug my YouTube channel on this episode. Will that be cool?
Yes, but we have to pick 2 new topics now too.
Yeah, I have the list in front of me. If you want to do this live, a little working session, did anything catch your eye off the list?
So it's funny. I think I've had a couple albums that I want to talk about already, and you saying you wanted to like spread your wings a little bit. I'm gonna have to like mentally prepare for a couple other topics to do that. So I'm gonna rely on you telling me to like recommend albums I've never heard. But the two topics I'm thinking of would either be a debut album or a supergroup album.
Okay, I think both of those are fine. Which one do you want to do for our next episode so we can start thinking about it?
Let's do debut, but you have to pick one, and we have to decide
the
which one we
Strokes
want
is
to do
a
next.
sit.
Really? Wow, really? That's funny. I'd be down to talk about that album. I haven't listened to Van Halen in a long time. I'll give you time to think about the album for sure.
No, I'll try to pick I'll try to pick something that maybe I haven't heard before, or maybe it's a group that I like, but I've never heard their first album. But those are probably my two favorite debut albums.
I think I have a band that you haven't heard, so I'm excited to share it with you. And it is for me another comfort pick, but I do like them a lot, and they're unique.
Cool. So next episode will be debut albums.
I'm down, but do you want to pick something and we decide which one to do? Or we would just do it the next episode, but we want to keep it fair, right? We pick two topics. We pick a topic each.
Yeah, what was the other one you said? Concept album?
Supergroup. Do you want to do concept album?
You know what? Let's do singer-songwriters.
Singer-songwriters. Okay.
Yeah, because I've been kind of getting into that genre. There's a
lot to think about, singer-songwriter.
Yeah, it's a pretty broad topic, but I'm basically talking about, one person with a guitar where there's an emphasis on lyricism, storytelling.
Yeah, kind of like folk.
Yep.
Okay. I love that genre.
Cool.
I won't recommend a Bob Dylan album.
I appreciate that. All right, cool. So debut albums next. After that, we'll do singer-songwriters.
Nice. Okay, man. Tell everyone what you've been up to.
So I've relaunched my YouTube channel. I started a YouTube channel in 2007. It has a lot of most of my old videos are still there, which is mostly live band stuff.
It's like annoying customer stuff, right?
Yeah, it's annoying customer and Sushin, all the Rabbit Troop, all the bands.
Like other bands
that we used to play around with. Yeah, so that's all there. I'm not taking it down. If you're interested in that, God bless you. I appreciate it. But the relaunch of the channel is going to be whatever rabbit holes or hyperfixations are consuming me mentally. And right now it's comic books. So if you're into comic books, go to Grey Ghost 81, GRAYGHOST 81, the numbers 81, and throw me a sub because I'm trying to get to triple digit subs. I have 52 right now as of the time of this recording.
Well, you have 52. So. You have more than Disc Junkie, so maybe we need to move the podcast.
And actually, a good way to listen to Disc Junkie is there's a podcast section on my channel, and it's Two LPs in a Pod playlist. So definitely, you can get the videos there.
I endorse.
Thanks for letting me do that.
Yeah, man, your channel is cool. I am not personally that into comic books, but it's been interesting to hear someone that isn't. I didn't know this side of you, man. To be honest, I don't think so. It's interesting to just see you go through comic books, and you're uploading quite regularly too. So you're grinding. I appreciate it. Go check him out. Go check Shawn out.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Anything else, man?
I think that's it, man. I think episode 4 is in the bag.
Done and dusted. Dang, 4 episodes in. That's I think you need, what's like the saying? You need 3 to like start a habit of something, or like 3 days or something, right? So we're going strong, man. It's been a fun ride.
What's that other adage that most podcasts fail before, or they quit before 15 episodes or something?
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Wow, 15 is a lot though. That's I
think that's the whole point. It might not be 15. I just pulled that number out of my you know what. But
you could call 15 like a season. So like, one season of something is, and then it ends. That's admirable. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Let's soar past 15 though. We could do that.
I think we can. Double digits first, but we'll get there.
All right, nice, man. All right, well, if that's all you got, man, do you want to close this out? Since I guess it's your intro episode.
Sure. So this has been Two LPs in a Pod featuring Shawn and Andre. This was episode 4, Dance Pop Albums. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Make sure to follow us, like us, all that stuff on all the social medias, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out, guys.